RopeGuide retrieval, the basics. A short video covering 5 easy techniques to lower your rope guide to the ground and featuring ART's DoubleSnapper 3.
ART, for the art of tree climbing. So what I've got here is 60 metres of throwout line, which is a very light line, any sort of throw line will do. And to the end of that line, I've got a small accessory carabiner that's attached with a secure knot. What I'm doing at this line is I'm going to pass it above a branch, above the rope guide, nearby. This one's off to the side a bit, but it's still above, which is great for me. And I'm taking the accessory carabiner and just snapping it in between the cam and the ring on the end of the rope guide. So anywhere between there is fine. And that runs up along this branch above, and that will assist me to retrieve my rope guide safely. So the main issue with using a retrieval line like this is that it can sometimes interfere with the work that you're undertaking. So it's important to find a trajectory when you're throwing out the bag where it's not going to be in the way. Stand clear. Okay, so with my retrieval line set, I'm ready to work. So when it's time to retrieve my rope guide, I need to make sure I've got full control of the light line. And one easy way to do that is to stand on it. I can retrieve my rope guide as normal. Okay, stand clear.
One familiar way of retrieving a rope guide is to use a separate throw line to lower it to the ground. The great advantage of this system is that nothing needs to be installed, pre-arranged or planned prior to the climber heading to the ground. Here, Kia sets her rope guide and begins work as normal. When she's finished in the tree, she detaches from her system and fetches her throw cube. The perfect shot would be another branch just above the rope guide, but even a branch lower down can be used. It's important that one side of the throw line is parallel to your climbing line, for at least half the height of the tree.
Thanks, Leah.
This means lowering the throw weight next to the climbing line, or throwing from the same point that you landed.
So now I've got my throw line set, I'm ready to lower my rope guide. So all I need to do now is grab an accessory carabiner off the cube, attach that to the weighted end, and attach this accessory carabiner to the running end of my climbing line and pull this up into the tree. Okay, so I've run the throw line up the running end of my climbing line, just to very close to my rope guide. And now all I need to do is secure this line on the ground, unattach the spliced end of my line, and haul this rope up. And clear. That's how we control it safely to the ground.
The main disadvantage of this system is that throwing a line into a tree when you've finished working it can be asking for trouble.
Oh, you hit it!
Is that stuck? One simple way of lowering your rope guide to the ground without using any other gear is to catch it on the tail of your climbing line. There are a couple of ways of doing this. The climber jumps to the ground against the tail of his rope, in other words, leaving the tail of his rope over a branch more than halfway up the tree. He then pulls slack into his system and attaches the tail of the rope to the running part of his line above the friction device. You can use an alpine butterfly and carabiner that to the running part of your line. Or a bowline tied with a bite, or any other inline knot that's appropriate. You then pull the knot up into the tree so that the midline knot that you just tied is at least half the distance from the ground to the rope guide. Let's just recap. First, the climber jumps to the ground, leaving the tail of his rope over a branch. Ideally, this branch needs to be over half the height from the ground to the rope guide. Next, slack is pulled into the system on the climber's side. The tail is secured to the running part of the line above the friction device, and that attachment is pulled up to the branch. You pull out your rope guide as normal. That inline knot will catch the rope guide, and then you can use the tail of your climbing line to lower the rope guide to the ground. A simpler, if less elegant, method of using the climbing line to retrieve the rope guide is to install your retrieval knot as soon as you arrive at the branch. Here, the climber pauses on the midway branch and brings up the tail of his rope. When he has the end of his rope, he ties a running bowline around the running part of his line, leaving the tail of the climbing line hanging over the branch. He can then descend to the ground as normal and retrieve his rope guide. When the rope guide comes free, it will be caught on the retrieval knot, and the climber can use the tail of his climbing line to lower the rope guide to the ground. Another brief recap. Bring up the tail of the line and tie it around the running part of your climbing line. Descend to the ground as normal. When you retrieve your rope guide, it will become caught on the retrieval knot you previously installed, and you can use the tail of your climbing line to lower the rope guide to the ground.
So there are lots of ways to use your access line to retrieve your rope guide, especially when it's set in a really good position like this, very close to where your rope guide is going to be installed. So one rather specific method of using your access line to retrieve the rope guide is to install it right from the start when you're climbing. So here I've got a midline knot. I'm using an alpine butterfly, and I'm using a carabiner clipped into that loop, and I'm using that carabiner to clip into my rope guide between the cam and the ring on the other side, just like that.
And Kia heads to the ground. When she pulls out her rope guide, it will be caught on the carabiner, and she can use the access line to lower the rope guide as planned. The access line can also be used by ensuring that the last part of your descent to the ground after you finish work is parallel to either side of the access line.
So when I'm ready to retrieve my rope guide using the access line, simply tie a midline knot. In this case I'm using the alpine butterfly. Attach a carabiner to the loop of that knot, pop that in the running side of my climbing system, unattach the splice end, and now I need to haul away on the access line to pull that up the tree.
Instead of using an alpine butterfly and a carabiner, many climbers choose to use a running midline knot, such as a running bowline tied on a bight, as Kia is demonstrating here.
So it's important to ensure the midline knot is hauled halfway up the height of the tree to where your rope guide is. Make sure that you can catch that on the way down. So now I'm just disconnecting my friction device and removing the rope guide. Just whilst I'm doing that, I'm holding onto the access line with my foot to make sure I've got good control. Okay, stand clear.
The rope guide will be caught on the midline knot, and Kia can use the access line to lower the rope guide to the ground. Okay, let's recap. First, the climber descends to the ground, ensuring that their climbing line runs next to either side of the access line. The access line is attached to the running side of the climbing line with a midline knot, and the knot is raised to at least half the height of the tie-in point. The rope guide is removed as normal. It is caught by the midline knot and can be lowered to the ground.
So ART have come up with a customized solution for rope guide retrieval, and it's called the DoubleSnapper. So I'm going to install that into the tree now that once I've put my rope guide in. I'm just installing my rope guide in this crutch. So once I've installed my rope guide, got it in the position I'm after, take my DoubleSnapper, go pitch that around the strop of the rope guide and let that hang in place. So now it's time to install my rope. So as per normal, I'll pass the splice die and the bobble through the cocoon, but this time I also capture the bobble and the splice die through the barrel of the DoubleSnapper. So with my system set up like this, I'm able to retrieve my rope guide anywhere within the canopy and actually re-anchor as normal. But also the advantage of the DoubleSnapper is that when I reach the ground, I can actually install a light line on the end of my climbing line and retrieve the rope guide safely with full control. So now I've reached the ground and I've finished my day. I'm ready to retrieve the rope guide out of the tree using the DoubleSnapper. What I need to do is attach the light line to the spliced end of my climbing system. I'll use the throw line that I used to actually get into the tree to help me with this. So I've got the bobble grip that's supplied. I just pop the light line through the end there. And you can tie whatever knot you're used to with your throw line. Any knot would be suitable. Take the bobble on the splice end, clip that into the bobble grip, and in this case I'll stand on my light line so that I can get some friction and control, and I haul the rope as usual to pull my rope guide out of the tree. there you have it. ART rope guide, lowered to the ground, nice controlled fashion, using the double snapper. It's easy as. ART for the art of tree climbing.